in 1939, 1940, the university had this visionary idea of taking radio to the smaller communities of eastern Kentucky. And they wanted to build a whole network of stations that were broadcasting programs specifically for those communities. So if there were particular agricultural needs in one county, the station could focus on them. If there were different needs in a different county, that station would do that kind of programming. So the first station was to be WBKY. It was in Beattyville, Kentucky. It was licensed as an AM radio station in a new experimental band that had just been created by the FCC. And it went on the air on October 17th, 1940 at 7:30 p.m. There was one full-time staff person. Her name was Ruth Fox. She was the jack of all trades, or Jacqueline of all trades. She was the station manager, the program director, the production manager, the writer, the director. She did everything. What WUKY did that was different was to obtain the first educational radio license that was owned by a university. There were two school boards in the country that had educational licenses, but number three, the third license and the first one to a university, was WBKY in Beattyville, Kentucky. So it was the first educational license. Eventually we became an FM radio station and moved the station from Beattyville to Lexington, and the rest is history. Back in around 1970, WUKY sent a representative to Washington. It was one of, I think, about 50 stations that were at that meeting, and one of the outcomes of that meeting was the decision to form National Public Radio. So we were there at the birth of National Public Radio. And the idea was to pool resources, that our station could do things on its own and had done things on its own for 30, 40 years at that point. But by adding the resources of 200 or more other stations, we could do so much more, and we could cover news from the national perspective, from Congress, from the Supreme Court, from Asia and Africa and everywhere in the world that news happens. And that vision has played out tremendously in the time since NPR was formed in the 1970s. Our main channel, 91.3 FM, the analog channel that everybody's familiar with and everybody can tune in on their car radio and their home radio and now online and on their smartphones, that station has existed since 1940. And today's schedule has NPR News, so we're focused on Morning Edition, All Things Considered from National Public Radio, the two great national news magazines, and then we supplement those with our local news. WUKY is the largest employer in Lexington, and I believe the largest employer in the state of Kentucky. And it's kind of important to our listeners to know what's going on, what's on the mind of the president of this huge organization, because it has an impact on this community. I mean, certainly look at what's happened with UK healthcare in the last 10 or 11 years. It's just taken off. The station signed on the air on October 17th, 1940 at 7:30 p.m. So on October 17th, we are inviting the community to come out here to Spur Road and see this beautiful facility. We're not moved in yet. It's going to be 6 months or more before we get the renovations done, and we have all the technical work done to be able to operate the station from here. But the facility is here, and it's an opportunity for the community to come and visit. We'll have live music. We have a porch. We'll have a band outside. We'll have opportunity for people to bring lawn chairs and listen to the music. We will have hors d'oeuvres inside, tours of this building, so people can see what is going to be happening here. And then at 7:30, we have National Public Radio's Susan Stamberg, the godmother of public radio. She was the first woman to anchor a national newscast on any network in the United States, and she will be here. She's still an active reporter for National Public Radio. So she started her career in the 1970s at NPR and is still there today, and she will be here in Lexington. And Everett McCorvey will be joining her on the stage here. And we're going to sort of reimagine the original first broadcast of WBKY. But what we want to do is sort of bring you back, in a way, to the 1940s. We're going to have a newscast of what was actually going on in Kentucky and the world in October of 1940, done by our news director, Alan Lytle. We've got a little reenactment of what an imagined conversation we have between Ruth Fox and her boss at WUKY about some issues they had with the station back in those days. Yes, they had issues too. And then we'll have some folks like Ben Chandler come in and talk about how public radio has been important to Central Kentucky and Lexington, and what WUKY's role in the community can and should be. And we'll also recreate some of the musical performances from that first broadcast. So we'll have a string band here, and we'll have a singer from the School of Music. There were a couple of light classical arias on that first program, and a lot of string band music. So it's going to be fun. We're going to have a great time. WUKY is a community institution, has been for 75 years. And so I'm proud to have the opportunity to lead the station. I was when I came here in 2004. And now that we're entering our 75th year, I'm even more excited. Radio has changed. What used to be one channel, going from the top floor of McVeigh Hall down to the community surrounding us, has turned into 3 channels and podcasts and web updates and who knows what else. I mean, the next 10 years could be a whole different world in radio. It's an exciting time to be in radio because of all the changes and because of new ways of reaching the audience and engaging the audience. We've always tried to be very involved with the community at WUKY, but having this facility, this new facility that we're moving to, enables us to bring more people to the station. That's what we're going to do on October 17th, and it enables us to have access to the community much more easily to cover the news. So I'm just very proud of my staff. I'm very proud particularly of our news department and all the things they're already doing, and we're all looking forward to ways that we can expand that coverage and do more and be more involved in the community once we get through the 75th celebration and we actually get the station moved out to our new facilities.